Hey people, that last movie I was reading in Numbers 22, and I told you I wasn't going to leave till I finished it, but I read that and I had to backtrack. I read 21 and then in 20, and I found some good stuff, and I'm going to show you where this old odely dodely comes from, neighborino. So in this Numbers 20, the first line is called the death of Miriam, and it's just one line. And then it goes water from the rock. But it starts with, the why or who vow to, and a little dot after the vav here means it reads twice. And so it's who vow of N-I, and then backwards and forwards, L-A-R-S. Nilers is rule. And so Nilers is the ancient word, the N-I-L-A-R-S, ancient word for people who worked the boats on the Nile. Who vow of Nilers is rule. Cledo, K-L, and the tack, read this backwards, E-D-O, Cledo the ode. So this is where your word odely dodely comes from. It's actually the cledodal, O-E. O-E is an ancient symbol, and it's pronounced odal, and it means of the royals, of the royal family, or, it comes from this diphthong, O-E. And, it first comes from Old English runology, the odal. And it's something, they're trying to make people forget because they don't want people to learn how to read this. They say it's associated with Nazism and is banned in Germany. But it's Proto-Germanic, and the name is the odal heritage, inheritance, inherited estate. It's passed down, son of the king. So who vow of the Nilers is rule? Cledo the ode. And so Cledo, K-L-E-D-O. Cledo is a medical term, for the clavicle or shoulder. To shoulder something, it means to carry it. And who vow of Nilers rule? To carry the ode, to carry the song mudbar. This is the word in the chapter of Numbers. The title they say is Numbers. This is the word for numbers. And just like all the other words, it's a piece of a word. And what it means is MD, made, BR, and then backwards and forwards, N accent. Made brains in beds. The ode, to carry the ode, they made brains in beds, so you don't forget. So you don't have to put it in writing. The ration, R-A-S-H-U-N. The ration who sieve in those in fetish. What might says, from rise, what fever. They're trying to say this is cover. But this Q is F. From rise, what fever. What's getting hot. So we'll see some more proof in this odal, this O-E, down a little lower here. But this next line, goes into a new chapter, water from the rock. And I did a movie on that about Exodus 17, and it reads a little different from this. And you can see here in 8, this is fuck. And when it says, and they took for them wives, usually it's W-I-Q-H, wife. And they'll give this H here, the C-H. They always give the Q the K. I'm pretty sure it's always the F. Fuck to, and it means the center divide. And fuck to etchum, backwards and forwards, the E, and then the tet is the TH, to etchum, E-T-H-M. And then the dot in the M, as you read it twice, the etchum from them math. The other way, E-M, them math. That means to collect. The fuck to etch 'em from the math. Math, from collect life to add 'em up. We fell to the dodal, the D-O-E, the dodal ode. You can see that word here, wife. So took. Why fuck? How center divide the wife. Or who, why, meaning how or who. Who fuck is your wife? And then down here at 11, where's musta, would, yod to? Backwards and forwards, W-D-I-D-U. Wooded to. Wick. Usually they say whack. W-A-K is struck, whack. Anything with a W-K, if it's an E in between there, anything that's that means struck. The wick to. Wick to a less. The dot in the S as you read it twice. L-S-S. A less this slow. In Matthew. This is your word Matthew right here. In M-T-H-E-W. In Matthew. In Matthew. Who's slow in math? Palm is wits of. To miss rabbis. What test? What tested the ode of heirs? And so, in this his hand, where's must to, would, I-D, yod, W-D-Y-D, yod is the hand. Would hand to, where must to, would hand to, wick to, unless this slow in math who. And so somebody who's slow in math, they go to where is must would hand to wick to the slow in math to. Palm is wits, W-I-T-S, the wits of. The palm is the wits of. So in order to remember things, they have a lot of hand codes. You see 3, 6, 9, 12, and then 3 here. And so to remember, there's a bunch of different ways to remember things in your hands. And they have the math hands. And so to wick to all less the slow in math who. If somebody's slow in math, they go to their hands. The palm is the wits of. Count it up on your fingers. Palm is wits of, is rabbis. The little dot after the vav here, so there's 2 vavs. The wits of, and then them. The wits of them is rabbis. The rabbis' wits, they know the palm. This is your word for Barbies right here. And so it's R-B-I-S. And so it often comes after, Jimmy's, they say, is the days. But they also, the miss, is the water. It'll come after that. And it's often found with this tack in front of it. And so then it's read backwards, my, M-Y-B-R-B-I-S. My Barbies. And you see here this word, pro, P-R-O-E. Who yammer? Who word, puro, P-R-O-E. And so they say with this dot in the P that this is a sharp P, but it's always pronounced, the pharaoh. They'll say without the dot, it's pronounced as a F. But who yammer, the per is the house, and the O-E is the royal family. The pharaoh. Who yammer the pharaoh in my Barbie's oath, O-T-H-E. The oath as hears, E-A-R-X, it hears. The oath is hears. We shavitz, to make rest. Shabbats is in Sabbath. We shabbats. We shabbats them to from civilites, S, from their labor, the civilians, SVL, the civilites, from civilites. What you're getting from the civilians is their labor. And said Pharaoh, in my Barbie's oath, as hears, we Shabbats, we rest 'em too from civilites. But just 'cause they say it in Wikipedia don't mean it's true. But you see, they say with the dot in the T is a sharp T, and without the dot is a TH. And they probably got this backwards, and it just makes me think, if this is a P, a plain old P would be read a P, not as a F. And to make it different, I'd add something to make it a F. And so I'm pretty sure that they got several of these double letters backwards. The K and the CH. I'm thinking they got this one right. But in the D, is a dot, and without a dot, sometimes it's the D and sometimes it's the TH. And any of these other letters, if they give a dot, if they don't have a double meaning, it just means the letters twice, to use it twice. You see it here in the B, the B and the V. And they say that this R is a double letter, but they have totally forgot, what it was supposed to be, and it's double. In most places they say this T is the TH, and with the dot changes to a sharp T. You find a lot of different information on this old Hebrew, so you kind of just have to figure it out yourself. But this word for the Pharaoh pretty much gives it away. The Pharaoh, P-R-O, is for, pro, and E means life, for life is a Pharaoh. You ain't going to elect a new king, he's Pharaoh for life. But they surely say this is a sharp P. When it's pronounced, everybody knows it's a F, Pharaoh. But here we can see, the Barbies, and it's low, low means beware, and it means low on fuel, it means down low. And low, backwards and forwards, E-Y, E is T-H-E-Y. And lo, they, it, I, E-Y-E, they, E-T-E-Y-E. Lo, they, it, I, beware, they, it, I. And then backwards, starts with the A, is J-R-H-A. And then I always say this is follow or come after. And because it means to turn, to gyro. Lo, they, it, I turn. My Barbies, my girls, they turn their eyes to do evil, of rot will. My Barbies of rot will. The not one, backwards and forwards, N-O-T-O-N-E. The not one. All in, backwards and forwards, all in revealing that. Gyro, the turn, rabbis, let it. And so this shall you testify is more down here, all in revealing that. Lo, they, it, I, gyro, my Barbies, of rot will, in not one, all in revealing that, turned, gyro, rabbis, let it. So when it doesn't have the tack before it, it's just the RBIS, rabbis. And this will probably give us a better idea what it means in Leviticus, of her blood days, many out the period. And so your blood days are the days of the dam, DM. And then the E, has the dot in it, so it's twice. Damn, they miss, It's damn they miss is when you missed your period. Damn, they miss rabbis. Blot, B-L-A-O-T. But I'm starting to lose my voice, and this program is really slow. So let me get on down to what I was wanting to show you here. And there's a lot of good stuff in this chapter. But, those who call on angels to lead the way, who shall him lack the wits unto? Who shall him lack wits unto? Ain't very smart. This might be the wrong place to be looking for help. We see it coming up here, to Cleto, the ode, her rear. The Cleto, the ode, the rear, R-E-E-R. Rear is the back, but it also means, to rise up. The rear, to rear your children, to rise them up, to walk on their hind legs. The rear. The Cleto, to shoulder the ode of the rear. And so this is ear is in a mountain. In the old pictures of the earth, there was ears around the flat earth where the dome set on the mountains, the ears. And you can see it here, the Eliza always comes after the tack here. The what, the rise all, a loser, L-O-Z-R, a loser in new, to hold to hold M-T-A, to hold them to the rear, the back. And here's got a couple of those words in it. Vios, vios is to see, or how as, to see this gets done, or how as it gets done. Why as. Vios, most kosher, is okay, kosher. Zoo, and they give this commanded all the way through, but zoo is the ancient word for study. The zoo you, to study you, who allow lore, L-A-R-E, the lore, rear. Lore is ancient, a body of traditions and knowledge on a subject, held by a particular group, typically passed from person to person by word of mouth. The kosher study you, who allow lore, the rear, the ancient tradition, to rear, to raise up, laying, of seeing. The Cleto, to shoulder the ode, to carry the ode. The old lore, to study you, who allow the lore to rear, to raise the old traditions of seeing, to carry the ode. So this kind of tells off what the big secret is here. But this is where your word brassiere come from, B-R-A-S-E-E-R, brassiere, and you wear your brassiere on top of the mountain. But it's in rows, and that's why you would wear a brassiere, to raise them up in rows here. But what it's actually talking about is dyes. Is the big secret of the Bible, is in the dyes, and you can see it in this word here. This is the toner, T-O-N-R. A toner is, use it in dyeing, to tone down the colors, to keep it from being gaudy, who lavish. And you can see this, better up here, of his garments, and put them on, be in gaudy, to we lavish it, in gaudy to we lavish it. And so lavish, that's where your word lavish comes from, and lavish is overdoing it. But you can see here, and stripped, the toner. And who push them set toner? Who push them set toner? A cern, A-E is E-S, ash. A cern to who, why, who, dig, in, gaudy to. Somebody who digs in gaudy to, who lavish. Somebody who likes the bright colors, who push them set toner, a cern, to who dig in gaudy to, who lavish. Somebody who likes to be standing out, who lavish them to. To rise all a loser in new, everybody sees it. Whom, who and am, whom, tanner. And you see the word right here, died. Whom, T-N-R, the tanner. Ashes. There's no tack here now, so it only reads one way. It's got an A, so it reads backwards. Whom tanner ashes in rosier, the brassiere. In rosier, word most to a loser, manner here, M-N-R-E, the manner here. And we come back up here to line 26, and we can see another way that Aaron is twisted. We push it toner, a cern, to who dig in gaudy to. We lavish it, to rise all, a loser in new. Where not, W-A-E-R, like W-E-A-R, the where in Naya. Where Naya spew mitzis. So, this is the best information you'll get out of this movie. The word literature, they say it means written works, especially those considered of a superior or lasting artistic merit, or books and writings published on a particular subject. Coming from Latin litera, English a letter. And so, they're totally cutting out the origin of this word. This word comes from 3 different words. It comes from litter and a and chur. And so this chur, this is the same spelling of the Torah. And it means a tour, a military. You're on tour. You're on the watch. Your job is to make a tour around the city. And it's the tour. And this word litter does not mean trash. How could trash, be literature? It comes from this word litter here. A vehicle containing a bed or a seat enclosed by curtains and carried on men's shoulders or by animals. And so this is where the king sat when he was on tour. He sat in the litter, a tour. And he sat in there and he read and he wrote in the literature. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.